Hey, we are going to call to order the PRCAC meeting for March 16th, 2023 at 7:02 p.m. First, I have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Next is approval of previous meeting minutes. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
My pleasure.
I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Next, we have correspondence. Oh, hold on. I'm going to pause for a second. Bennett is asking if there is an issue for the Zoom for the PRCAC. Sorry, I'm getting a text. There's Mr. Bill.
Okay.
Get Bill in here. Sorry about that. Some people are having a hard time logging in. Under correspondence. Oh, the passcode requirement. What's the password for Zoom? Sorry, everyone. I'm going to pause for a second. What was the passcode that I gave you? Sorry. Sorry, everyone. Zoom makes this interesting sometimes.
Thanks.
I dropped a note in the chat on the technical issue.
Are you getting, yeah, I'm not sure if it shows up to everyone.
They are not in
The problem that I saw was that the link, the hot link in the email was missing the last two characters. So the way I had to get in was to copy the whole link, paste it into my browser, and then it worked.
Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can. Oh, Bennett just said thank you. So me giving him the passcode seemed to work.
Robert, was that from the next door link or the one?
Oh, no, the link that I got in from was the one that you sent to the pause list, or whatever the pause list is called now.
Pointy post?
Yeah.
Must be point, whichever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, but I assure you, Zoom is working.
The passcode is 162472. So Bennett's in now, so I'm just gonna give him
I replied on the next doors.
a minute. Elizabeth Mason's trying to sign in as well.
Do you want that posted on Nextdoor?
Just it.
PRCAC just updated it.
Thanks.
It's in the comments of the post from Anel with the Zoom link.
Okay, so
There.
thank you. Correspondence. Okay, so we did receive the response from about the at-large. I'm just gonna do that in the at-large. Is everybody okay? The correspondence that I have for that. Other than that was just email from St. Paul's to do in response to our continued request for a meeting. I received a phone call from Jed Holmes. Tentatively, we're looking at April 10th. I'm just waiting for a confirmation from Jed. Once I have that, I will post that meeting with the executive, Jed Holmes, and some county council members once we have confirmation. Next would be public comment. So we'll start with the room. Do you have anything for the first public comment? Okay. Next we'll go to Zoom. Do any of our members on Zoom, our community members on Zoom, have anything that they would like to discussed or questions that they would ask at the first open session? If so, please unmute or raise your hand. Got something for me, Bennett?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you needed help setting up for the OSS training in April, and if you did, to go ahead and contact me for that.
Yeah, that would be great. I had sent an email to Emily asking about doing the setup for it, if it would be best for us to come and actually do it the night before, seeing as that we're starting so early in the morning. I'm gonna follow up with her because that is a lot to set up. So if you
Yeah,
could help us, that'd be awesome.
How many were signed up for total?
100.
100. Yeah, that really that's a very unusual setup for that room. So you let me know. Emily has never set it up for that many people before.
Well, and yeah, any help you could be, because of course we're gonna need the TV and stuff. I'm assuming we should set that up on the stage because they're gonna have to, you know, hook a computer into it.
I'm more than willing to help. So just to let you know ahead of time.
Perfect. Thank you, Bennett.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else online have any questions, concerns, or anything that they would like to bring up in this first open session? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to old business. First one we have is the drainage master plan. Do you want to give the update on that one?
The drainage master plan, a RFP went out for it from the county that I believe we were unaware of. And they, the deadline for that was, I think, Tuesday the 14th, excuse me, and they received one response. And they're, I believe, going over that now at this time. There's no other update I have.
Yeah, that's what we received from Public Works. So I'll follow up with him, or if you can follow up with him maybe next week.
Yeah.
And see where they're at in that process and request a copy
Excuse me.
of that request for qualifications, just so that we can review it and, you know, give our input. Next will be broadband PRCAC.
I don't have a real update, but I can recite what I we've done. So I just sent a note to the executive pointing out that both with the Concom and also Starlink have both raised prices in the last month or so for Point Roberts, this region in the case of Starlink. And I just asked if the executive has any further updates. I did not receive a response. I sent that message last week. I believe Bob has an update perhaps on PUD application, and then maybe we can understand the status from the executive.
Bob.
Yeah, the only real news is on our joint venture with PUD, the grant application was received. There was an objection filed by Would-Be Telecom. The Washington State Broadband Office reviewed that, found it to be invalid. Their words, not mine. So, but it's an interesting thing to read. Those who are interested in following it, go to the Washington State Broadband Office. You can find the objections on the line. There is some information there on what the retail costs are that Would-Be is suggesting for their fiber. Something I haven't seen in print to this day. So that's all.
And did you have any further news on when the decision?
Oh, yeah. So they were supposed to provide the grant applicants a response by February 28th. I think everybody filed a grant said, "You've got to be kidding that quickly." And as it turned out, that was too quick for them. So they said they should have news out by April, but we heard the other day that they expect to have an answer by the end of March. So it's only a few weeks away.
So, so if that is indeed the case, then I'm not surprised that the executive might want to wait for the outcome of that.
Yeah,
The response back to us.
yeah.
And maybe there's some news to share with the visits, but we can all.
Well, hopefully we have the answers by then, and I'm sure, Bob, as soon as you hear,
I will share.
if you can share that with us, and then we will forward that and share that with the community, you know, at the time. Even though I'm sure you'll be on next door and everybody will be following.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Anel, Night Sky.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not well on the day of the Delta Mayor meeting, so I didn't make that. But I have written the office and asked for instructions on how to proceed with bringing a request. I've been very remiss in terms of scheduling another meeting of the group. But I hope to do that. Things are just very busy. Making some progress as far as local lighting is concerned. But nothing to report at this point.
Okay. Sorry, I have somebody else asking me for passcodes for the meeting. So you'll just update us as that progresses, and you have additional meetings, and any meetings, you'll put those up to the community.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Next is unfilled at-large committee positions. I received a response from Seth Paul's office. I'm just having to re-pull that back up. There was 4 applications received so far. I will get you the names of those people. I know that actually most of them off the top of my head. So there is Laura Swan.
Yeah, she's on the call tonight.
We also have Jared Overhouse, who's on the call tonight. Hello. We also have Edlina. And we also have, sorry, I just forgot his name. I should know this. He's my neighbor and he's an ex-border guard. I apologize, everyone.
Take your time. We're not going.
There's been far too much going on in 1 week. Sorry. And my here we go. PRCAC applications. So Jared. And the last one is Michael Hendon. Sorry about that, Michael Hendon. He's not actually on our meeting tonight. Sure, a lot of people who are locals who've lived here for a long time remember Mike Hendon from being a Point Roberts U.S. border guard. Him and his wife lived here for years, moved away, decided they didn't like being away from Point Roberts and recently moved back. So those are the 4 received as of now. I'll put the post out again. Or if you want to do that, and I'll resend the post out requesting for applications. Because I know, like you had said, Elizabeth was gonna apply, but as of yet, the county had not received her application.
I did apply and I got verification that they had my application.
Okay, I will check with Suzanne because you weren't on my list of 4 that she sent me. So I will verify with her. Thank you for letting me know that, you know, you did receive a response. This was Monday that she responded to me, so.
Okay. Well,
But-
I applied, I guess it was a week ago.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll follow up with Suzanne. I want to make sure that anyone who does apply that is in the right spot. Next, we have regular meetings with the county. As I stated earlier, I received a phone call from Jed Holmes wishing to try and schedule a date in April. And then we received an email from the executive as well. He's going to invite council members to hopefully attend with him. That is right now scheduled for Monday, April 10th. And once I have verification from the office, I will post that to Nextdoor, Posty Post, and Point Interface, and the Point Roberts newspaper. Next is OSS training for April. We actually have April and May. Both of the classes are full. The first class filled within 4 days, the second class filled within 2 weeks. So we will now have 200 people that will be certified to maintain and check their own septic systems. And also be able to qualify for rebates with Whatcom County Health Department for pumpings or having a professional OSS inspection. I've received lots of notes on Nextdoor and such asking for another one. So I think we need to get through these two first.
Yeah.
And then see what we can do about, maybe it might not be this year, but maybe work something out to make this just a regular occurrence twice a year. Is what I was kind
The
of,
number of systems.
Well, it
out
seems
there.
there's enough interested parties, so.
well, there's over 2,000 septic systems in Point Roberts.
And the fact, just from the fact of how fast you fill them up, obviously people are waking up, you know, it's after the call, you know, all of a sudden, so geez, maybe we should really take a serious look at our septics.
Yeah, so no, I want to thank the community for, willing to participate and, and it also helps to show the county that this is a community that's hungry, shall we say, for participation in these type of things. So hopefully we can do more. Next is public transportation survey, PRCAC.
Okay, let me try to share my screen. Okay, so the survey, as I'm sure most of you noticed, went out last week, both online, and then we had a paper survey at the library. We received actually quite a few responses, 183 online and 3 only the paper survey. So I'm thinking we might need to give a little bit more time for the paper survey and maybe move it to the community center here. We wait another week to collect the paper responses.
Or if you want, I can always print more and we can cut more or take some of the ones from over there and we can just make another container to be able to have here for seniors lunch on Wednesdays and Thursdays, or Wednesdays and Fridays.
I'll prioritize here, so
Okay.
let's just move it,
Okay,
and then, because I mean, in a week or slightly over a week, we only got 3 responses at the library, so this might be a better spot.
Okay.
Yeah. Save you some trouble as well. So let me just quickly go through the results so far. Some of those were a little bit surprising, at least to me, pleasantly in some ways. So of the 183 responses, slightly under 25% said they would use such a service every week. And also slightly under 25% said they would use it every month. And then about 1/3, slightly over 1/3 said a few times a year. And then 1/6 said never. So at least based on this, there's quite a bit of demand for such a service. Where would you like it to go to or come from? Most folks were for Bellingham or multiple stops in Whatcom. Very few for Blaine, which was a little bit eye-opening for me. So if it, for people to find it useful, looks like they want to go all the way up to Bellingham. To read the comments, a lot of people said it'd be great to have multiple stops in Blaine, Ferndale, even Bellingham Airport. Some people mentioned that as well. So various stops. Also, would it work if it was a fixed timing service? Because in the past we've had a fixed timing service. We've also had a volunteer van that was more flexible. But for most people, it looked like 71.5% said yes to it would work for them if it was fixed timings. Now in the comments, people did mention that they want several hours gap, so if people are traveling from Point Roberts to Bellingham, they
Right.
want to run some errands, they want like a gap of, 4 or 5 hours before the return trip, so that they could wrap up all their business, do shopping, doctor's appointment, whatever. So, so that's good feedback as well. And then the last one, how much would you be willing to pay for it? I took these numbers. Also, you pointed out the WTA side where most fares are in the $1 to $2 range.
Mhm.
And then I put in the $5 just to see the response. And actually, surprisingly, most people, 63% or so, said they would be willing to pay $5. And in the comments, people said they would be willing to pay even more. Some people said, not everyone, but so I think that's also an interesting data point. Because I think people are comparing this to either not having the service or having to pay for, a taxi or
Uber or something, yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So I think, that's an interesting piece of data as well. You can see some of the verbatim responses here, be willing to pay more than $5. I said to stop at Bellingham Airport. There's just requests for different stops. A lot of people also said, just we're paying for this, so it would be great to see some WTA service since we are paying taxes. And then some of the nevers, just to add a little bit of color commentary to the nevers. I got a few responses, even the written response saying, I'm able to drive so far, so I said never, but if things change, then I would use the service.
Yeah.
Well, I know I was speaking with Madeline, who was one of the volunteers, and she was explaining even when she used the bus herself, that people would sign up and it would actually drive around, the volunteer one would pick them up at their houses, and they kind of had the list of whose doctor's appointments were where at what time,
Yeah,
and they had the drop off, schedule.
right.
And then if there was a hour in a gap because of how long someone's doctor's appointment, they would go to the grocery store, and they would go and they would do grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And there was other items, they'd stop and pick up people's medications,
Right.
things like
So if it
that.
was flexible, I think that would be great, but I think also people are saying they can make it work.
Yeah.
Even if it was fixed timings, as long as there's a big enough gap.
So, we had a very short timeline on this and we didn't let anybody know, but Circle of Care has just completed, applying for an AARP Community Challenge Grant. And the grant application was to fund a pilot program using our bus to actually validate these numbers.
Okay.
So if we get the money, we will set it up so that we go at least once a week, and it will be for, for these kinds of, it won't be a medical appointment only trip. It'll be for community shopping, errands, et cetera, et cetera. We'll know in May, then we will, we have to hire a dispatcher to do all of that organizing and figuring out who gets picked up when and where they're going and what time and so forth. We won't know, of course, how much we'll get, but we've applied for money for a driver and a dispatcher and cost of diesel fuel. And then we'll write it all up and give it to you to show to WTA, and hopefully we get it. Hopefully we have, this experience.
Yeah, well, even prior to that, I mean, that'd be great if we get that grant. But the next steps on this, I was thinking, move that paper survey to the community center, let this one also run for another week or so, see if we can get over 200 responses, and then summarize the results back to both WTA as well as Jed and the executive.
Mhm.
Because I think there was some skepticism or lack of clarity on, is there demand for this, will people actually use it? How much demand, would a fixed time work? Because I think that was one of the concerns, like different people have different timing requirements, so maybe it's better you guys do a community ban yourself. That was part of their thinking.
Well, and I think it's because also when we did have WTA, in comparison to the volunteer bus, WTA picked up only at the community center. You had to make your way to the community center, they picked up at the community center, they dropped off at the community center, and they didn't take you to, like say, Peace Health or Rite Aid. They basically took you from the community center to
The transit center.
the transit center, station that's kind of by the Department of Licensing, which is right there by Dulles Fair.
Yeah,
And then you had to figure out your way from there.
yeah, so I can imagine their hesitation if it's like a different route every time. But I think the feedback is
Yeah.
a fixed route and fixed timings can work as long as it's covering the places people want to go and gives them enough time to get their stuff
Yeah.
done. Yeah. Yep, so I think it was good. I appreciate everybody's responses to the survey.
Oh, I did put out the other day a post of, if you haven't completed this yet, can you please? I think we need to do that a few more times.
Yeah.
So that also you can have an idea, to wrap it up when,
Yeah.
if we do have the executive coming on the 10th, it'd be nice to be able to have that as part of the discussion to summarize the results. So if you want to, maybe do another repost on that,
Yeah.
this weekend, because I actually did find if we post something Thursday night or Friday morning,
More responses, yeah.
there's more responses because it's over the weekend.
Yeah.
And
We'll
like I
get
said,
it done tonight or tomorrow morning, first day.
yeah, well, because it was just the same like with the septic class, the very first septic class, I posted that at the end of our meeting on the Thursday night. And when I spoke to them on Tuesday morning, they went, halt, done, stop, it's full. Like literally, we actually had, because they hadn't looked at it yet, not thinking it was gonna get full that fast, we were actually just over 100. So. So that's that. Next is Transportation Benefit District Funds letter to the executive. Brian,
I was asked to do a bureaucratic masterpiece.
It was.
Thank you so
Well,
well.
I felt like I needed a name tag and a lander.
Yeah, I already done, I get it.
I might put one on after I read that letter.
Okay. So it's up to this committee and more importantly, I think the chair in this case, since you get to sign it, whether or not it's adequate to you as directed. Thank you for your, I appreciate
Can you-
it.
I noted that to you.
for those people who weren't at our last meeting and understanding what we're talking about, would you mind summarizing
Oh. no,
why we're doing the letter and what is the content of the letter?
We received an information from the county executive that they believed that the Point Roberts Transportation and Benefit District and the amendment that we were talking about or would require an amendment to the state constitution of Washington to amendment 18 of that. There had been a previous review prior, back I think in 2014, that had gone through all the way up to the state legislature. And that did not have that same finding. It felt that all we needed to do was look at the revised code of Washington and revise that. The letter then speaks to a request for clarification from the county executive that if there is new information that we don't know about, we'd be delighted to know so that we're not spinning our wheels here. Otherwise, I think this group wants to go forward with innovative work as far as the revised code of Washington so that we can use the transportation benefit district funds in more ways than are allowed in the rest of the state, because where we are located, and how we are located and the kind of work we get done here it does not speak to our best interest.
Well, and I think it's important for everyone to know, we're not reinventing the wheel. This was something that was put towards council, to council. Before council approved it, it just, when it hit the state level, it didn't have the traction.
Yeah,
So basically, it would be exactly the same as what was previously done with county council and attempting to do what failed before with new state representatives in Washington.
Right, and basically our question was, we just wanted to make sure if there's something that we don't understand that has
Yeah.
changed in that time frame, because otherwise we're at a loss to understand the logic.
The one thing I did notice that was not in the letter that unless I missed it, is that by no means, because it was a possible suggestion of the executive, was to dismantle, shall we say, the fund and have the money just go into the county coffers, that is not something that we are interested in.
Yeah,
at this
I
time.
didn't speak to that because it certainly didn't speak to our interests.
Okay, so you want to hold up on that one? Okay.
I don't know.
No, I think that's.
If there's,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't want to play any more into,
Put ideas in any.
That's exactly right.
Well, it's just because that was part of the
That's a sleeper.
That was-
pill.
a letter, yeah.
response from
That's a sleeper
the
pill.
attorney.
yeah, exactly.
We don't want to.
No, we let the attorney's attorney, you know.
so I have a couple of suggestions, maybe, Brian, for, to kind of clarify further that communication to the executive. One is to attach the previous, it says right here, Whatcom County Council Agenda Bill number 2014-93. Just attach that,
Mhm.
because it has a stamp at the end. And
Yeah, no, I understand. That's a
So
really
just
good
attach
idea.
that for reference, and then the second one would be, maybe we can point to 2 or 3 kinds of things that we would like to use the funds for, projects. And maybe we should do our homework first to make sure that those are not in violation or would not be in violation of the RCW. But those would be what we would, and kind of asking like, why can't we do this, right?
I hear you, man. I'm not sure we know all the things that we want at this point, and or exactly how we might want to modify the RCW. I'm not sure we have looked at that as a group. And I also admit to total ignorance as to what was proposed before. Your idea to go back and look at it sounds great to me. That's fine with me if we, if we have the time frame for it, or if you just want me to attach that. And
Yeah, I have it, I think it was in one of the mails that was.
Yeah.
circulated.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the second part was more like just giving some ideas to the executive, like, again, to your point about not backing out of the tax and just letting it,
Oh, right, yeah. Well,
And so saying we have actual use for the funds, if only we could put them to use.
yeah, okay, okay, thank you. I will do that, and then I will take it this then as you've given me clear direction, I'll send it around to the group. And if there's any, if it needs to be carried over, we will, if not, we can send it on. Is that?
The only thing is, I would like for at the bottom, yes, I am the chair, so therefore I have to sign it, but I would like it to come from both. Seems that you are the actual draftee, and I think it should come from me as
Sure.
the chair and you as the secretary.
I have no problem with that, Mr.
Allison, do you feel like you have a sufficient historical perspective on the sorts of projects the community has come up with in the past? Or how could we gather those? Because there have been other projects that were put forward and they didn't pass muster on these terms.
The only other one that I'm aware of off of the top of my head, other than us not being able to use it for the engineering, was when a request was used to use it for sidewalk. Because the sidewalk is not part of a roadway.
Hmm.
So, but it was something that, you know, for public safety and stuff, it was something, you know, it was part of the walkway and I'd have to double check with Mark Robbins. It had to do with the roadside edge near Lighthouse Park and creating a sidewalk shoulder, you know,
Widening the shoulder.
walkway, and it didn't pass muster.
Yeah. It seemed to me just taking some of the sharpness out of that bend and making it safer because there's no crosswalk there for people crossing from the
Well, what I would suggest is that, you know, we leave it, you know, kind of how it is and say, you know, that we leave it blanket and we'd like to be able to use it for other items. And then when we get to that point, that would be a meeting I would say that we would actually have with the employees at Public Works in projects in Point Roberts like that wouldn't normally pass muster, that we would want, but we know we're not going to get funding for. They would be a very good source of also ideas of what they think. You know, hey, it'd be great if we could do this in Point Roberts, we just don't have the funds for you to do it. So that would be, you know what I mean? I think working with the Public Works employees would be my first step.
and it's important to remember that 1 point million doesn't go very far.
Especially with all the rules attached to it, so
Yeah.
that gets burned up. You think maybe the response is, you know, that there are some alternatives and we are currently looking at those alternatives and can have, and would be more than happy to respond back with those alternatives within the next 30 days.
We could do that,
See,
certainly.
in other words, so if you just tell them, we haven't forgotten it, and we really have alternative uses. But we're currently studying some of those and making sure they meet all the qualifications of all the RCWs and so on.
Yeah.
And we're willing to present those to him within the next 30 days.
Well, we can also do the digging back into 2014,
And
2015,
whatever.
when it did go
Right,
as a Senate bill. We just gotta find it.
yeah, and.
Find the House bill that, you know. failed.
45 days, but whatever, within the next 60 days, we'll
Yeah.
have a formal response to you.
Well, because then we can
concerning
pull that House bill and find what was in the original House bill,
Potential uses,
right?
yeah,
Because I'm sure the language was there.
so, you know, then we have a follow-up and the letter's not sitting in an inbox.
And actually, probably if we reach out to Pat Grubb of the All Point Bulletin,
That's
he
exactly.
probably can pull it out of a file in 10 seconds or less and knows exactly what it says.
So we're going to keep Washington State, Bill, but just to quote from the Whatcom County resolution in 2014. The paragraph at the end says, now therefore be it resolved by the Whatcom County Council that it is in the interest of the PRTBD and other border area TBDs within Whatcom County to allow fuel excise tax revenues to be used for a broad range of transportation improvements.
There it is,
As defined in RCW 73.
broad range.
So maybe we should use that.
There it is, there's
Yeah.
your,
Right.
And that's our understanding is.
yeah, it's our understanding.
Counties use of these funds for a quote broad range of.
Broad range, that's a great,
You like that word.
almost like heretofore notwithstanding, I mean, come on,
Right.
those are good terms.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that Brian makes those changes
Yes.
to that letter, and then both myself and Brian will sign it and send it off. So now, anything further from any of the committee members that they would like to bring up, discuss?
That has a hand.
I'll do them after we do this.
I've had a couple of people make comments about the number of off-site signs that are showing up.
Okay,
And so I'm wondering, I know that, it was quite an issue, before when we had the character plan. I don't, I'm bad, I haven't looked to see if the new RCW,
You mean the county code?
yeah, county code.
So when the character plan went away as a standalone document and got rolled into 2072,
Mhm.
the portion on signs mainly is reflective of business signs as far as height, size, lighting,
Mhm.
things like that. So it doesn't really have anything, if you're talking about a small stick in the ground yard sign that would be, you know, like the small political signs, or a real estate sign, something small like that, it doesn't really
No.
cover that.
I'm talking about, well, the ones that were pointed out to me were like, lawn company sign, that's up,
Oh, yeah.
up at the, along Tyee. The business signs that are now showing up on corners that are not on site. So they're off-site signs. And there are sandwich boards and so forth, and they're perpetual.
Yeah, so 2072 doesn't have anything in reference to, like, you know, a portable sandwich board sign.
Mhm.
Like there's nothing in that code that refers to, you know, something like that, a portable, movable sandwich board sign. It's mainly, so the one you're talking about, like the landscaping sign, that would be considered a permanent sign. It's actually stuck into the ground, right, kind of thing. Or a sign that's over a certain dimension. But we aren't the code enforcement police. I don't want to be the code enforcement police.
Yeah, that's what I said to them.
I've had a couple people mention it to me and my response is, what business is it? Oh, well, it's so-and-so. We'll go and have a discussion with them.
Yeah, sit down for-
If you think they have too many signs out, go and have a discussion with them and say, hey, you know, it's starting to look a little cluttered. Would it be possible to do X, Y, Z? You know, have a conversation with those businesses, because sometimes, you know, maybe people don't realize that people have an issue. You know, give them an opportunity to rectify it. And you know, I get it. Sometimes it gets to look a little cluttered. It's no different though, kind of, you know, when we get near elections.
Well,
I think there's isn't there, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there different rules?
Yes.
Concerning elections, if you collect the signs after
Yeah.
a certain.
Yeah.
those are temporary.
And it's temporary sites, but you're
Yeah.
right, if a sign's not supposed to be there. And it's like taking advantage, then, you know, have a conversation.
Have a conversation.
But who then is the enforcement arm of that?
Well, if the signs are in the right of way,
Not in the right of way.
then
Let's
it's
say-
public works.
Let's say that they're sitting there, they're advertised on somebody's private property or property. And is that, you know, and they shouldn't be. Who goes and knocks on the door? And is the, you know, the bad guy?
Well, if it's on private property, if the owner of that property gave you permission to do so, well then,
But even if he did give permission, I'm not that I'm, you know, the sign Nazi, but at the end of the day. If something is supposed to follow a certain rule, or, you know, it's like,
at that point, it would be Whatcom County Code
that's
Enforcement,
what,
which is out of PDS.
that's.
You know, but I always suggest before you start calling PDS and doing code enforcement and all of that, be a good neighbor and have a chat.
Yeah, we could have Brian write like a semi-nasty letters, and he's good at it.
Oh, just go have a nice chat.
Yeah, that's it. Coffee and a Danish, figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, it does say here in 20.80.410 of the 20.7.
2072.
Off premises advertising signs are prohibited.
Yeah.
Um, So that, that's in 420 neighborhood commercial district sign regulations. No sign or any portion of the sign shall be located on or over public property such as roads.
Right, that's, it can't be in the right of way.
And off premises advertising signs are prohibited in all districts except adjacent to arterial roads or Interstate 5.
Wow, good. Interstate 5.
Anyway, it.
But yeah, it's, you know, so like arterial roads, like Tides and arterial. But I'm just like that's the regular standard county code.
So there's no specific to Point Roberts.
In 20, no, so that's where you have to look at 2072.
Well, but it says in 27.
Yeah, to go refer
this.
to that,
Yeah.
but because Tides an arterial road, it's mainly, like I said, they can't be in the county right away.
Right.
You know, it's, you know, back in the day, years ago, like the Reef used to have a sign that was on the corner of Benson and Tight. And it was on somebody else's property, and it was totally fine, code 70 turned in the code, but it was fine because it was an approved sign of approved height, it wasn't lit, it was all fine. Because there was approval and it was not in the right of way and it was on the arterial road.
So it was approved.
But it was approved, it was fine.
Yeah.
But I understand what some people are saying, because you do have these, I call them yard signs. That are, you know, kind of popped up everywhere, but that's when like I said, you know, we need to have be neighborly and have the conversation and, you know, maybe somebody doesn't realize that it looks really cluttered, you know, maybe they're originally from an area where that's the norm. Right?
Well, and it does require that anything that is permanent has a permit.
You have a
associated with
There
it
you go.
Yeah.
as well, so maybe we can just have a letter to the editor about signs. I'll suggest to the next
Yeah,
person
that's-
who complains that they write a letter to the editor asking.
Like I said, my thing is always to usually, you know.
I know, I'm with you, but a lot of people, you know, their neighbors or their friends, and they don't feel competent to have that conversation and have a positive outcome, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah, I get
need
it.
to be able to do something indirect.
The serpent will quickest route.
Does any other committee member have anything?
I'm glad you found the TV.
I had a question, maybe not too
That was fun.
involved, but I walked to this meeting.
Yeah.
And just noticed there's quite a bit of trash on the sides of the roadways. Do you have any spring cleaning?
Used to do that
Tradition?
on a regular basis, yes.
Yeah, the Whatcom County has an adopt a road program. Multiple roads in Point Roberts have been adopted by, you know, different groups and things like that. Usually there's a road cleanup every spring, where groups get together, clean up the sides of the road and such, and then everything's taken to the transfer station. And then the Whatcom County pays the bill for everything that we pick up and recycle. I can check with Linda Hughes or Chief Carlton, because a lot of the time it's the fire department that organizes it. But I can check with Linda Hughes at Can Do to see if we have something coming up, and if not, we can work with Chief Carlton.
Yeah.
Because it's always best to do it with the fire department,
Yeah.
because, you know,
Yeah.
safety.
And this is, you're talking about picking up litter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's a blight. No matter, it's one of the falls of society when you look around and you see litter.
Well, we were doing like on Earth Day and stuff.
Yeah, but
I was
even-
organizing, like we were doing beach cleanups and.
But even on a
and sorts.
basis, one of the things that you see with, you know, when you worry about society, it's litter.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first.
Well, it's nothing extraordinary, just need to do it once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that's it.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those things that because we didn't have much of an issue during COVID.
Yeah.
That it kind of fell through, but like we used to have signs like Kelly and Sons would be, they were this road, fire departments.
We should put him in an orange jumpsuit. Think about that, him walking along there with a.
Do we get to have fake balls and chains attached to our?
You have a car parked there with lights flashing, and him in an orange jumpsuit. Shotgun on it.
Okay, so I will follow up with, I'll check with Can Do as well as Chief Carlton. Okay, so that's everyone, anyone, Bennett?
Real quick, first thing, if this trash is on Gulf Road, usually the taxpayers have been doing that, so you may want to talk with Mark Robbins if they want to do another cleanup on
Okay,
there.
yeah, Mark is usually.
And he's real good about organizing that. Going back to the OSS training and the request for additional ones, in the future, if you're going to have additional ones, please have them after Canada Day, because we're missing a lot of our Canadian friends and seasonal house owners who may want to take those classes, because they have to do the same thing with their septics too. So you're missing a large group of people. So you may want to try and get one scheduled in the summer for that.
Good idea.
Yep.
That's it for me.
All right.
Robert?
Hey there, just wanted to add something to the broadband old business. I don't know if anybody noticed, but Whidbey Telephone has increased their equipment fee by 50%. And they've also more than doubled some people's broadband bills. I don't know if this adds any urgency to projects that we're running on the point that would potentially bring them competition. But if there is added urgency as a result of that, I hope that the advisory committee can roll that up as needed.
Yeah, sorry, Robert, maybe I wasn't clear. I did mention that to the executive in my email last week, that and Starlink both raising prices.
Oh, okay, yeah, Whidbey's like more than doubled and Starlink's only up $25. So for some people.
Starlink was more expensive to begin with, but anyway, yeah, I did mention both of those and
Awesome.
raise the urgency of.
Thank you, sir.
Robert, a quick question for you. In those rates being raised, do you know if they were passed by the commission to raise those rates?
It is an unregulated service, so
Really?
because it's unregulated service, they can charge whatever the hell they want.
Oh, so what the traffic will bear? That's interesting.
Yeah, only telephone service is regulated by the UTC.
About that from an unincorporated area where you're able to raise your rates, whatever way you want to do it. That's nuts. I don't know why that got under the radar.
Well, when I looked it up, it's, like Robert said, so UTC regulates the phone rate, not the internet rate. So they can't raise your phone price without an approval through the UTC, but the cost of internet broadband is whatever the market will bear.
There you go. That's filed under shoe shine and handshake. Yeah, that's how that will go. All right.
Thank you, Robert. Kathleen?
Just real quickly, I had a hard time getting on, and it was because the link that was sent out by Point ePost didn't have it stopped at Z, and then the next line was Z09, I think it is. So you guys just missed that half of the link. So it was asking me for a passcode. So just I don't know who else may have wanted to get online and who couldn't, but the whole link wasn't finished. Just
Thanks,
for next time.
Kathleen. It's a function of the size of the font getting all on one line or two lines. And I'll make a note of checking on it from now on.
Yeah.
Make sure. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hey.
Motion to adjourn.
I just want to thank the people that have applied and that are on tonight, like Laura and Jared.
Yeah,
And that's good. Thank you for doing that.
and I can say for a fact that Jared is not a talking head. I actually met him last week. It's a pleasure to meet him and,
Good.
yeah.
And And so everyone knows the Zoom link, and Prakash did fix it in the one post, will be our standard Zoom link for our regular meetings for the rest of the year. So if you want to set that off to the side or keep it or bookmark it, this will be our constant Zoom link for regular meetings.
Well, the password will be the same too.
Password's the same.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is Spur. I don't know how to raise my hand. I believe that Zoom, unless it's changed, will allow you to set a custom password. This password currently is 25, 30 characters long.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't come through perfectly, it's easy to get a finger error. Is it possible you guys could consider doing, Point Roberts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or something? Just something that's pretty easy
Yeah,
for people.
passcode. Let me take a look at it.
Yeah,
It's
because
something that we can reuse every time.
yeah, if you want to work
You'll be
with
able to create a Zoom link with the password inside of the link.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's normally how it works. So I'm not sure what went wrong here.
Do that and then pin that post if there's a way next door to pin that post. I don't know, but.
It inserted a space in the password, Robert. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, next door, like munch the parsing somehow. Yeah, I mean that's possible.
It hasn't been a problem in the past, so I think we must have, I don't know, done something different this time.
If you're not married to this particular Zoom link, then maybe create another one where there's no spaces in the password. You should be good.
Well, maybe for Prakash, if you can talk to Emily from the White House Parks department, because that's where we get our Zoom links from. We're using their account. To maybe set us up a new permanent one that's less
We'll make one more difficult for you. Okay, for everybody.
make it easier. So yeah, if you can touch base with Emily, that would be great. You're the IT person, not me.
Right, good.
Okay. So I want to thank again, everybody who also has applied for our 2 vacant seats.
Elizabeth too, and
And if anyone else is interested, please apply. It's through Whatcom County. And
Will we have town hall meetings or opportunities for those folks to?
yeah, so
speak
we
next?
will do that after. I figured we should give it another month. I want to make sure we have lots of time for people who might be interested to apply. And that would be on next month's agenda, would be to set a date and time for a meet the candidates, shall we say, town hall for those people who would like to take the seats. And then we always record that and we send it to the executive before we post the
So we'll be
community.
doing that, looking for that sometime in May.
Community vote. That last time, I think it was Bill and I went through and put it into a spreadsheet and then sent that to the executives. But again, as long as everybody understands
spreadsheets.
that we ask the opinion of the community, what the community would like, but the final decision is always that of the executive and county council to who gets to sit up here. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Again, thank you everyone
Thanks, everybody.
who came online. Thank you for those who came in to sit with us. We
Hey, Alex,
appreciate.
are you going for the corned beef and cabbage tomorrow night?
There's corned beef and cabbage. Did you not see my post?
Yeah, I saw it. We're going for it. So if you're there, I'll see you.
Is there corned beef and cabbage? Because I'll be there with Bennett.
Yeah, I gotta make Bennett a sugar-free dessert because I feel bad because he hasn't had dessert in forever.
Oh,
Ramona will take those wonderful desserts you posted.
yeah, there it is. But we have the corned beef and cabbage.
Yes.
There it is.
I'll
You have
have
a
your
good one.
table ready.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for working on that spreadsheet.